Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the video. In today's video, we're gonna pull out this oil pump. It was sold on Amazon as a Melling M55 oil pump, which is kind of the standard for a small block Chevy. I was suspect when I got it, and there's no markings anywhere on it. It looks right, it feels right. I have another video on the channel of me installing this in the engine. Everything looked great. One thing that I was suspect of when I got it, it did not come in a Melling box. It just came in a plain cardboard box. You can see this box clearly says M55 on it. This came from Summit Racing because, you know, the oil pump is the heart of the engine, and without oil pressure, you've got nothing. So I was trying to save a little bit of money, and it ended up costing money and time. So today we're going to pull it all apart, drop the oil pan, and put the proper oil pump on there. I skip over a few steps, but I'll link the other video to show the complete process of setting the pickup height correctly and everything for your engine. So let's get into this thing. Here's an old oil pump to reference, and you can see that thing has a metal tag on it with M55, and I believe, and maybe I can't find the 55 on it because it's dirty. This is an old one that came out of the previous engine, but yeah, I probably could have cleaned this oil pump up when I first pulled it out and reused it and been just fine. But instead, I was trying to buy new parts and save money. Well, yeah, we all know how that worked out. All right, so here we go on our journey. We're just gonna pull all the bolts out of the old oil pan. I've already drained the oil. I pretty much know that this thing is not going to just fall off here because of the amount of silicone we used on her putting her on. Just hoping that we can get all the bolts out and be in good shape. It just takes a 7/16 and a ½ inch to take off your first gen small block pan, as long as it's got the stock hardware in it at least. And yeah, it's on there. So hope everybody's having a good day today. We're doing okay out here. Just kind of a drag having to get back in and do this, but we're going to make the most of it, get it done as quick as we can. We're going to try to get in here with a putty knife first and slip that dude back in behind there. Oh, yeah, not a good angle. Try from the front. A little bit better angle up here. Yay! Why don't you want to work, turkey? So I think the hardest part of cleaning this whole thing is like right here. Hopefully we didn't bend our oil pan too bad taking it off. because it was really glued on. So I'm just taking a screwdriver, coming in here, scraping any little chunks of silicone back out. I spray her down with a little cleaner, wipe it out with a towel, and we're going to get this pan put back on. This is a just a few hour deal. It's not like multiple days, like trying to put an oil filter on a early model block and not having all the original parts there for it. Well, I don't know who did this, but boy, they got some silicone in every little corner and crack on this thing. I don't want any oil leaks, I know that. You guys like oil leaks? I know I don't. You can drop a comment if you like to clean up oil leaks. I mean, they do keep things from rusting, I guess. Let's move her right on back here. Same deal on the rear main, or the rear pan seal. It's kind of tough to get in there to it though, buddy. But we can. We're just using a narrow bladed screwdriver, scraping all that crap out. And then we'll clean it up with some good brake cleaner. Blow it out, spray it out, clean, like you want on your engine before you assemble it. All right, so the worst part about the whole thing is making sure we get it all cleaned up good. And you know, the inside of my oil pan's not perfect, but I promise you everything that's in there is just like a stain. There's no solid material at all in this dude. Somebody, the last time they put this together, they got a little silicone on the inside of stuff, and I'm fighting that now. Having to come back and really focus on picking, digging, cleaning everything up. Yeah, it just takes a minute. We're about there with it though, I promise. I'm gonna wipe the rest of these corners out so that this stuff doesn't come loose and get into small parts of our engine. And then I've already cleaned the block side of everything. We're just letting it dry good. And I guess I'll stick the gaskets on that side. Thin layer of silicone, gaskets on it. Make sure and get these corners good. They always cause problems. And yeah, I'll bring you in and let you watch us. We struggle to get the oil pan up on this dude. So to change this dude out, we're gonna want silicone or RTV, gasket maker, whatever. A new oil pan gasket. There's several different designs that you can choose from. I just use the old cork gasket with the pieces that seal the front and the back. On a small Chevy, you have two choices for your front seal. You have a thin one, which is this thick, and then there's a thicker one, which is about 1.5 times as thick as this. It's in the engine now, so I can't show it to you, but you've got to have the proper one or you don't have any sealing. And you can see the little steps in these. So your cork gasket needs to go on underneath this, and then this seals up against it. You can see that step there. That's enough room for that cork gasket to fit. I use extra silicone on the corners. I'll definitely show that to you. This ultra gray or ultra black, that's kind of my choice. You can use great stuff. There's tons of them out there. You just want to make sure you buy a good quality sealer. You might be able to do this without any at all if you use one of the one-piece gaskets, but yeah, I've had good luck just using this and being careful and sealing everything up. All right, and we're off. I do have silicone on everything. I just had to figure out how much was enough, and it was all of it. Every bit of it's enough. Get it on there, squeeze these dudes up in place. Got to kind of move with a little purpose because it is hot out today. and things are gonna set up in a hurry. So there we go. That side's good. It's kind of how I like to do it. Just a thin amount on there. Try not to squeeze too much off in your bolt holes. And try to get everything in there while it's still wet. I did put my seals in the front and the rear. I tried to get it just enough silicone to really seal this dude up. And I'll put another little dab in that corner before we put our pan on. All right. We're slamming it together here. Not really slamming too hard though. It's like so warm. Everything is drying amazingly fast. I'm trying just to get this up in here where I can start a few bolts. Get everything kind of touching, and then maybe be able to slow down a second. Oh, she ain't in there good yet, boss. All right, I think we got her now. I think I got enough silicone on everything to hermetically seal this bad boy. That's what I'm really hoping. There's no oil leaks at all. It's kind of like an old Harley sometimes trying to seal up one of these first gen small block motors. And them bolts are so short, just barely long enough. Can't quite get that one to take a bite. It's okay. We've got enough on here. We can just go down through it, tighten up some of these 1/4 inchers, and maybe we can get the big ones in a second. Maybe if we're lucky. Yep. So nothing real dramatic now. What I usually do is tighten everything, not tight, just snug, barely. And then I'll come back and I'll wipe all my edges and make my silicone job look a little bit more professional. Yep, just keep poking it up in there. Another bolt, another step closer, I think. Oh, man, those stock bolts are just barely long enough, guys. You notice I'm just barely snugging it up. If you tighten it too tight with this old school cork gasket right here, she is going to make you hate yourself because it's going to squeeze the gasket out the side and ruin it. It'll rip the gasket actually. So we got to go nice and slow. And everybody knows today, like when you use silicone, especially as much silicone as I just used, we need to let it sit up for a while. So I'll just run them up there sort of snug. Once I get everything in, I'll get them kind of evened out, and then we'll let it sit for a couple of hours. That bolt does not want to go. There's several of these that are just being contrary as I'll get out. See, so that one, it pulled it up a little bit, so I'll come back. And as I start to see my silicone squeeze just a tad bit, I will stop, like right there. No more tightening down there. Got to get this bolt and got to get the little 5/16 at the ends in there, and we'll be good. So here's the most satisfying part, coming back and finishing everything. That stuff, I mean, it's only been like 15 minutes, and that stuff's already, it's set up, guys. where it's thicker. It's still somewhat pliable, but yeah, wait too long on a hot day. And I wasn't even waiting. I was trying to go as fast as I could to get that done. And it's just, yeah, not being pretty. Probably should have waited until late to do this, late at night or something. I don't know. This side's not as ugly as that side. It actually smoothed out somewhat up there. We just don't want to have big globs hanging down, going everywhere. So now I have to come back and clean my oil pan off with a little rag and some brake cleaner. I'm going to go ahead and touch up the couple little spots I missed with engine paint. And yeah, next step will be to see if, when we put oil in it tomorrow, if it runs out everywhere, because we don't have an adapter for our oil filter yet. All right, guys, there you go. It's all in. All the bolts are in place. You can see I did manage to push the sealer down and get it to look a little bit better around the edges. I touched up all my light spots in my engine paint, cleaned all the silicone off of the pan so that, hey, we're ready to put oil in this thing and see if we can get it to prime up. All right, so we got her back down, sitting on the ground, and I want to show you guys how easy this thing should flow oil out of it. I just have my fingers up here, got my old steel-bodied Delco distributor, and I'm just going to turn it with my hands, and you watch that oil come out of where the oil filter should be. All right, that's like that much of a turn. So, I don't know what's going on with the Amazon oil pump, but I wouldn't run one in my engine, and it's kind of like changed the way I'm looking at ordering stuff. All right, you want to see the next thing that's kind of, well, it's just not good. So this is a 1967 283 block. You can see where I didn't get enough paint on the bottom of it right there. We'll fix that though. We're going to end up pulling a bunch of stuff apart. But it requires, this is an adapter off like a 350 Chevy engine. And I'll show you another block in a minute, but it's got a lot larger little sealing surface here for the gasket on our oil filter to seal against. So this filter would never work. So that's another thing. Like I went back and simple stuff, just ordered the correct one. But I'm pretty sure if our oil pump was working, this would be full of oil and it would have started leaking all around it. So that's kind of still the reason why I'm thinking that stuff's just not working the way it should with our oil pump. And we're going to change it out. It was marked as a Melling though. Melling 55, that's kind of the standard small block Chevy pump, bulletproof. Yeah, so this one had absolutely no markings on it whatsoever. I think it was made in Huchong, one wrong. Yeah. So let's look at this other block. If you look at this block right here, which this is a 350 block, much later model, it was designed for those spin-on type filters. Your adapter bolts in and you screw the filter on, the gasket seals here. The earlier model was a canister style filter, which had the metal can with the filter element that fits inside of it. I think it's kind of cool that like they were doing that back in the 50s and 60s. I guess the first small blocks didn't have oil filters, but then after they started using them, they had that filter element and the metal canister. A lot of heavy equipment, big stuff uses that. But now if you look at the newer cars, all of them are going back to, it's a plastic canister, of course, because everything's plastic, but it has that filter element that's replaceable inside there, so you don't have the metal surrounding all of it. I don't know. Just think it's interesting that things like they take this long route coming around and they get back to what was the best in the beginning, maybe. All right, so here is the directions, everything for our oil filter adapter. You got this dude here. Got a bag with a couple of bolts, O-rings, and a felt-looking gasket with double-face sticky on it. And we're going to go over to the car, pull the filter, pull the other adapter, see if we can figure out how this thing all goes on. All right, now we are going to pull our empty oil filter off of here, set him over to the side, and hope that these bolts come out. They should. It was just a little bit of red Loctite. Yep, okay. They're going to come out of there. I'm thinking that this kit says that we've got to reuse this bypass, but like we got to take the threaded part out of the middle. I don't know. It's showing some stuff there, so I hope I don't have to have part of what was inside of that canister on it, because all of that stuff is long gone. So you can see this is what would normally go on the inside of a 350. I did completely JB weld and seal up the bypass side of it, so all of the oil filter flow goes through the filter. There's no bypassing it, so you have to make sure you change your oil filters out. Well, darn. You have the factory adapter come right out, and this is not the factory adapter for a 1967 283. This is out of a 70-something 350 motor. So I just incorrectly assumed from the very get-go that this stuff was the same. The directions in the TransDap kit do tell you to use the factory bypass valve, which apparently is shaped much differently than this one. It obviously doesn't have the spin-on filter adapter, so you're able to just reuse it, kind of sandwich it in here. The gasket, everything seals up with it, so that you have the bypass feature of your filtration system. I could just bolt this into the block, but there would be no oil filter if I did that, so that'd be stupid. So I got to go on the internet and see if I can find the pieces for that cartridge or a different adapter that doesn't reuse that part. So here's another piece that we need for our 283 engine, so we can put a common screw-on filter on there rather than the old big canister and the bolt that goes through it. Yeah, so this is a Permacool unit, and when you order, you want to make sure that you order a piece that looks like this, where it goes all the way up and it seals against the engine block, because the first time I did this, I didn't order that part. I ordered something that was just a big flat disc looking thing, and it was a nice made part, but you had to have part of your original bypass section out of that canister style filter. I had the bypass piece for a 350 Chevy, completely different, will not work. So this is a nice part. It comes cast aluminum. Got your nice O-ring there to seal one half of the block. This seals up on another oil passage. That way the oil comes out of the block through these holes, through the filter, back up through the middle, or vice versa, however the oil circulates. This is our part number. It's Permacool part number 1134. They send you bolts for both an early big block or a small block chivy, but they are just, they're grade 5. I guess that'll be fine. We don't have to get these like crazy tight. They're long enough. We'll put a little bit of red Loctite on there just to make sure they stay. So I'll see you over at the engine and we'll put this in. All right, so this thing's gonna be tough to do because everything's over your head. So I definitely recommend doing this before you get the motor all built and in the chassis. But we do what we got to do, right? Every single time. Make sure that gasket's on there good. Might be advisable to use just a touch of grease on that O-ring to hold it in place. We're gonna give it a what for just like this because I think we can make it happen. Now. All right, would you guys help me? Tell me which way this thing needs to go to line up just right. Thought I had it a dozen times already. I'm so close. I just can't quite get it there. On this O-ring. Yeah, it's a 5-handed deal for sure. Still doing all right. We're doing all right. We just gotta stab it up in there perfect one time. That's all we gotta do. Okay, and we put the never come loose colored stuff on there. Just on these 2 bolts, not on the oil filter piece though. And then now, there we go. I'm telling you, those are precision fit. And we'll just round the corners of the bolt off, strip out, twist it off in the block. Oh, let's not do that. Just get it 3 ugga-duggas. And I'll back this one back out. Put a little red on it, and we will be good to go. All it takes is just a little bit, guys. Yeah, that's what somebody said anyway. You ever use too much? Every time. All right. Enough of that. Tighten that one up, same tight as the other one. Precision. There we go. Okay. Now, that feels tight. Here's our not to be named oil filter model here. Looks like it'll fit and seal. Probably ought to put a little oil on the O-ring though, right? The gasket, whatever. There we go. We got a little oil on the gasket. Not gonna worry about pre-filling because we're gonna prime this thing now. All right, so here we are. We've got our old cast iron Delco Remy distributor here, turned with the distributor, the gear on the bottom of it taken off that runs it off the camshaft, so it plugs directly into our oil pump. Then our electric drill on here, and I can already tell you, like, there's a lot more resistance when I'm pumping this thing than there ever was with that other oil pump. Like right there, it got hard enough to make the drill slip. Never did that with the other oil pump. So, she's getting tight, and the drill is not. Yeah, that's the way I remember this going. So I just wonder how long it'll take to fill up that old canister down there and start pumping up through. This fitting Guess we could pull it out and see what we got. Oh yeah, oil everywhere. That's what we got. So hey, never had that with the other oil pump. Let me see. All right, we got our test instrument cluster in here, hooked up back at the pressure sending unit location, and let's crank her up and see what we get. Can you see the needle on the gauge? Need to be closer. It's one of those that's got like a huge sweep, but this thing goes up to 200 psi. You know what? Let's run her about there for a while tonight, and then we'll leave it. Hit it again another day. I was joking with Dad the other night, and I told him I was just going to mount a seat to it and a steering wheel and drive it like a dune buggy, because it's time to drive, to do something, make it make noise other than me sitting behind it pushing it around. Well, there you go. We successfully put the oil pump in. We got oil pressure now, so I feel good. We got us an oil filter on it, so that should get our oiling system taken care of. You can see we still got a few systems to finish collecting parts for, hook up, all that. I don't have a radiator for the 35 grill shell. I have one I can put in it to break the cam in. I would like to do it all with it sitting just like this, so that, you know, if there's issues, we're not all put together. But hey, we'll just keep working, and you know, we'll get there. If you like the content, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel, and as always, we'll catch you guys on the next one.